Alright, greetings YouTubies. A little cloudy out today. Kind of rare for California. I said I would talk about losing my religion, and that's a big subject. So I'm just going to go into it briefly over a few vlogs, and I may dive in more later. Basically, I started out as a Republican Christian. That's right. I was raised in Orange County, California, which is behind the Orange Curtain, as people so affectionately refer to it. And this is an enclave of conservative Christians, basically. And holy goddamn, I gotta pass this guy or I'm gonna rip someone's hair out. Holy shitballs, 40 miles an hour? Really? 40 miles, I could run faster than that. Maybe they're going to this pumpkin farm. This is the Lombardi pumpkin farm. And that's probably where they're going. That's why people are so slow. Okay, forgiven. I'll forgive you, sir. No problem. Now, this pumpkin farm is owned by a religious family, but they're nice people. One year, I actually made some pumpkin decals. I made them. They were of my own design, and I sold them here. And it was weird because it's all custom art that no one had seen before, but I ended up making like 125 bucks. On decals that nobody had seen before. That was cool, man. The table cost me 50, so made a profit. And you can see this place is a madhouse for Halloween. See? Pumpkin and cross. To them it's a religious holiday, even though it's kind of a pagan holiday. Most of the holidays that you're used to are pagan in origin. Christmas is another one. It was a celebration of the shortest day of the year, which is the winter solstice. And it was basically a passage of the shortest day. It meant the longer days were coming, spring was coming, and you know, it's a time of renewal and all that stuff. And you know, this was a pagan holiday historically, which was taken over by the Christians. Easter is another fertility ritual. Comes from the word Eostre, the Anglo-Saxon goddess Eostre. Her symbol was the hare. And Easter eggs are also symbolic. So, you know, a lot of pagan origins and stuff. Anyway, I can't really vlog and talk about that. I can't tell you why I lost my religion, though. Wow, that trike is hauling ass. Have some GoPro footage of the trike. I think you can take corners faster than I do. I don't normally go balls out here, but I do want to lose the trike. You can hear the backfire with my new ECU. forecast is kind of fun because it's not going to be too sunny. Sorry for the little distraction there. So I lost my faith because even though I was a Republican Christian, my first job, well, my first real major job, I was 20 years old, had a really great boss who was an atheist, had some weird beliefs besides religion. I mean, he was an atheist, but he had some, never mind that. So he would argue with me a little bit, and I defended Christianity vehemently. I mean, I came up with Pascal's wager on my own, which is a named argument for the idea that, you know, you should just be a Christian because, you know, what if you're wrong, you'll go to hell, and, you know, it's like the over-under in Las Vegas. And only later did I find out that that's a named argument that was refuted very easily. And, of course, he brought up the problem of evil. And, sorry, I keep saying and because I'm writing. The problem with evil threw me a little bit because I went to my Bible to try to find answers, and all I found were more questions. The Bible didn't provide satisfactory defense of Christianity. In fact, it made things worse for me. So, needless to say, I lost my faith. I went from full Christian to atheist in about a month. And this is detailed better in the book Faith No More by Phil Zuckerman. Phil Zuckerman's a sociologist, and he interviewed me for this book about a bunch of apostates. You know, like, why did they leave their faith? And my story is in there as Henry 41, if you ever want to find out or read about it. And I'll talk more about it. It's a little easier to talk about when I'm not vlogging, just because writing is so distracting. Or talking is distracting from writing, I should say. So yeah, I mean, what happened was I lost my faith, then I questioned everything. I was 20 years old, I'm 44 now. That gives you an idea how long I've been an atheist, and of course how long I was a Christian. And of course people will say, oh, you weren't a real Christian. Well, that's not true, because Christianity, the definition of, is someone who follows Christ. Follower of Christ. Christianity. That's the etymology of that word. And anything else is bullshit. So, if someone claims they're a Christian and believes in the divinity of Christ, they are, by definition, a Christian, even if you don't think they're a real Christian. So, a lot of people get butthurt because they don't like the idea of someone leaving Christianity. But the reality is, most of us don't choose to be Christians. We are Christians because we're raised as such by believing parents, right? Oh God, you just ruined that turn. I like that turn. So most of us are just born into our religion, whether that's Islam or Buddhism or Christianity. And even non-believers will tend to raise their kids as non-believers, which is not a religion, by the way. Atheism is not a religion. Atheism, by definition, is simply the lack of theism. A is the root form without, like asymptomatic, or asexual, someone who does not have sex. Not someone who hates sex, someone who does not have sex, without sex. So an atheist is someone who is without theism. So it's not a religion. If atheism were a religion, then we would need a new word to describe no religion, right? So a lot of people just get the words wrong because, you know, it's not like they're studying this stuff. They're not theologians. They're not, well, theologians don't exactly get it right. They're not scholars of any type. They're not necessarily intellectually rigorous. Maybe they just haven't thought about it. Or their friends have told them something that, you know, wasn't true. Okay, you're not going to use the turnout. That means you're going to have it done the hard way. This person's a little loosey-goosey. I think they're on the phone, too. So yeah, and agnostics, I don't even bother with that term, because agnostic, this is going to create controversy because a lot of people are so ignorant about this word. Agnostic literally means without knowledge, right? And the claim of God is a type of knowledge. I mean, hear me out, hear me out. I know some of you are already knee-jerking. I've thought this through since 2005, so I do know what I'm talking about in this area. An agnostic is someone who is without knowledge. It was coined by Thomas Henry Huxley in 1869. And a God concept is only a claim. It is not a real thing. If there were real gods out there, then the idea of God would be within the purview of science, which it is not. It is within the purview of faith and religion. So the claim of God is all there is. If you know the claim, then you are not agnostic. You know the claim. You can pick it apart. So if I say God is a stop sign, well, my God, despite the gross misuse of the word God there, my God exists. My God is a stop sign. My God is a rock, the sun, the statue. All these gods exist, if they exist in the real world. However, the God, as commonly defined, is a supernatural being. And this supernatural being has discrete properties which you can define and pick apart. And in fact, you can disprove most claims of God, because the claims themselves, which you know of, are ridiculous. So if someone says, my God is good and all-powerful and perfect and ever-present, and yet we have ticks and venereal disease and starvation and death and tsunamis, that is not a good God. Certainly not an all-powerful God. You know, because, you know, why doesn't he stop some of these things? And if he doesn't, he's not good, right? The other problem with the God concept is a God that is all-knowing knows what he's going to do or she's going to do into the future, all the way into the future as far as you can look, as far as it can see, which is forever, right? Because it's all-powerful. So if a God sees itself killing millions of people or thousands of people, then there's nothing you or I or anyone can do with prayer to change that God's mind, because it already knows what it's going to do. So an all-powerful God that is all-knowing is unable to intervene in its own foresight. This is called, well, there's many words for it, but it's basically a conundrum due to the omnis, the 5 omnis. I don't know if I can list them all here, but it's omniscient, omnipresent, omnibenevolent, omnipotent, etc. Right? So a God either wants to do good and it chooses, you know, it cannot, or it doesn't want to do good, it doesn't want to rescue people or prevent doing bad things that it has planned. Like, if a God is all-knowing and you get hit by a truck and die as a good Christian, then that God planned for you to die. And if you go to hell, that God planned for you to be there, because nothing can go outside the plan of a perfect being, right? I mean, so there you go. I don't want to go too crazy. I mean, I have, well, 23 years of debate experience on this topic, and I've been a Christian. So not only have I been a Christian, I've been convinced not to be a Christian, or convinced that I was wrong. Just like I was convinced that I was wrong when well, basically when I lost my religion, I examined everything. I examined everything from marriage to my political stance, and everything changed. Even my former homophobia, which everyone had when I was growing up. I mean, when you called someone a fag, that was like the worst thing you could call someone. Not only did I change my mind on that 180 degrees, I'm now an advocate for gay rights. One of my best friends is gay, and I've known him since 6th grade, and he had a very difficult time. So losing my religion changed everything. I went from a Rush Limbaugh listening Republican to a Rush Limbaugh, holy crap, brain, to a Rush Limbaugh-hating Democratic liberal. Now, I'm not Democratic in every single issue, but on all the important issues, I'm a liberal Democrat. I am anti-illegal immigration. I'm for legal immigration. And I'm against gun control, for the most part. Except assault weapons. Assault weapons might need to be controlled, because they are designed to mow down people, and what use would you have for that? But I'm very empathetic toward gun owners, and I do think we need to preserve the Second Amendment, of course. And I'm also pro single-payer healthcare, because that's just a great idea, and it's been done in like every civilized country in the world except America. And I read a lot about that, and I'll talk more about that later, because I'm actually affected by the fact that well, let me talk about this one other thing, is I'm anti-marriage, not for everybody else, for myself, right? I fully support everyone's right to get married, and everyone needs the right to get married, gay, straight, or otherwise. I'm against marriage for myself because I think marriage is unnecessary, and I think it's actually a bad idea for many people, especially men, but also for very rich women. The way I look at marriage is this: if you're going to stay together forever, you don't need marriage. If you're going to break up, you shouldn't be getting married. And that algorithm that bit of logic covers any good relationship, right? Because if a gold digger wants you to marry her and she's not telling you why, you don't want to marry her, but she won't tell you. She's not going to tell you the truth, or he. And if someone's going to change, and they don't know they're going to change, well, that's not someone you should marry either, right? And since 51% of people get divorced despite their best intentions, assuming best intentions, because some people do get married intending to get divorced, or get married for citizenship, or health care, or money, you know, it's better not to get married in those cases. If you're a man, getting married is ill-advised, although, you know, some men are romantics, I get it, I totally get it. Sometimes you'll get married once and get burned and never get married again, you know. People who are young, are going to be a little bit more idealistic. But I decided when I lost my religion and my politics changed, I also questioned marriage with fresh eyes. As philosopher David Hume said, question your own assumptions, everything. So I questioned my assumption, and I realized that I just don't need to be married. I don't need to do it. I don't need to have the worry of cold feet and commitment and is she the one? Because there is no one. There is no one. There are millions of people that are suited to you for millions of different reasons, right? Millions of combinations of reasons. And this is proved by the fact that most of us have had a string of girlfriends or boyfriends before we either get married or just, you know, to current date. And another bit of logic I like to use, and I'm very upfront with the women I date. I always tell them, I will not marry you. The highest rank you can achieve with me is boyfriend. And if you look at marriage as a rank, that's exactly true for me. There is no higher thing. Like, put it this way, what if there was a commitment ceremony called flarage? And let's say flarage was a next step beyond marriage. And beyond flarage, you had squarage and cagarage. I mean, I could go on. The point being, it's an arbitrary... Marriage is an arbitrary label for a quote-unquote commitment, which is actually a legal contract where the government is the agent. The government is the binding agent there. It's basically putting a legal contract on what is a sexual relationship. Like if you have a Kia Sophia and you want to get a Hyundai Sonata, or you want to move up to a Honda, would you want the government forcing you to stay with the Kia Sophia or the Sonata because, you know, you were with it 10 years, or, you know, when you sell the Kia, you got to pay for it anyway, even when someone else is driving it? Well, that's kind of how alimony is with marriage. You're trying to get away from something, a person, And the government says, nope, you gotta pay her or him for life because you were together 10 years. That's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. And people accept it because it's part of the traditional romanticized idea of marriage. So anyway, when I was 20 years old, I gave up all that stuff. I gave up marriage. I abandoned the Republican ideals that I once had. I already was scientifically interested. And I was able to embrace science a lot more so once I gave up my religion because there was no conflict. And there is an inherent conflict between religion and science. Genesis, the creation story. It says one thing, and that one thing did not happen. Not as described. And there's problems if it did happen. So, and I went from being a slight homophobe in high school to embracing gay people as deserving of any rights that anyone had, just like black people or Mexican, Hispanic people, Asian people, whatever. Humans are humans, right? Membership card, passcode, secret handshake. It's like the gay movement where people came out of the closet. It's atheists coming out of the closet and refusing to be silent and saying, hey, I exist, I vote, I'm your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your coworker, and I have the right to not be religious and not be punished for it. Those guys were going at a good clip despite being on airy cruisers. Hopefully we're getting some good footage here. The lighting is quite interesting today. So there you have it. You know, losing my religion changed everything. And you know, I have to tell you, I'm very grateful that someone challenged me at the tender age of 20. Any younger, and it would have jeopardized my home life. Any older, and I would have wasted time believing something that I think is not true, and that I basically can prove is not true in many ways. It's not hard. The biggest obstacle with believers, and again, having been one myself, is not the logic. Believers can operate a VCR, they can do tax returns. I mean, they're very smart. They can become astronauts, whatever. What they can't do easily is question something which may be the very seat of their family, their identity. It may be something they hold so near and dear that they can't bear to question it. And you're taught not to question religion from a very young age. My girlfriend is a nominal Catholic, and she's a terrible Catholic, which I like because, you know, it makes it possible for her and I to be together. But if she was more fundamentalist or more seriously Catholic, she couldn't be with me because, you know, I don't go to church and I don't pray. I mean, I'm an atheist, so. And that's something she'd have to take more seriously if she was more Catholic. She's really just a traditional Catholic, or more just a cultural Catholic, right? And I was raised Catholic, so, you know, we have that in common. So we get along great. And I have lots of friends who are religious, and some are actually fundies. And, you know, I find fundies amusing, and we'll rib each other. And, but I can still like them. I can like that they like motorcycles, they like to draw, they're funny people, they're generous, they're nice, whatever. Humans are humans first. Religion, well, religion is a touchy subject. The reason it's a touchy subject is people don't talk about it enough. It's not because people don't talk about it. Because not talking about something doesn't mean that the person stops being religious. They're still religious. They still think the atheist is going to hell. They still may think that gay people are an abomination, or that women should be subservient because it says so in the Bible. But then they don't want to talk about it. And to me, that's silly. That's like being a racist, and then you don't want to talk about why you're racist with someone who's trying to convince you not to be. mean, this may be an offensive analogy, but that's how I see it. It's like someone thinks something of me, but they don't want to give me the opportunity to convince them otherwise. Women, you know, maybe women want to have equal rights, as they should. And it's like a guy who thinks women should be barefoot, pregnant in the kitchen, and then they don't want to give the woman a chance to explain herself. So the way I view it is, you should be able to explain and defend any idea that you hold dear, if that idea is worth believing in and worth holding. Because if you hold an idea that you're not willing to defend, then you, sir or madam, have little faith in that idea as something that can stand on its own. And if you're intellectually honest, that's not something we should be able to live with, right? If I have an idea, I want to know that I can defend it and that it's true. I want to believe in true things and not believe in false things. Just like, you know, if you're dating a girl and she's cheating on you, would you want to know? I do. I want to know. I want to be able to act rationally on reality and not my delusion. There's a storm of ruin, which is why it's windy. See, now if I were on a Ninja 250, I'd be getting blown around a lot more. You know, I like those little bikes. My gas tank's almost, it's emptying out too, so my bike's lighter than normal. I'm talking a lot. I had a lot to say this one. I'm getting deep. I got 25 videos, I got about 100 subs almost. Well, I'm like 11 subs away. Don't think I don't know exactly how many subscribers I have. But you know, I'm talking about a deep topic because this is real me, right? This is the real me. This is not fakery. These are my real opinions. And let me tell you something, dear viewer. I cherish your real opinions. I value, cherish is the wrong word. I value your real opinions, even if I disagree with them. I would fight for your right to express your real opinion, even if I find it vile. Ooh, there's a horse. I'm gonna go easy on the revs because I don't want to scare the horse. I would definitely fight for someone's right to express a view I'm not happy with. Hey.